mountains brilliantly for such a big man. Well, Sean, it seems that physiologically he's where he needs to be, and he's proven that within this race. He's going uphill and down dale, taking on proper mountains, so even on quickish days he's there. And of course, famously, Chris Froome as well on stage 9, when Dumoulin pipped him at the post. Froome was going for the stage victory into Cumbre del Sol, and he said he was surprised at Dumoulin as well. He surprised a lot of people, but when you actually break the numbers down, he's big in terms of results, but not that big in terms of stature, not unusually so.
No, not unusually so. Height-wise or weight-wise, he is perfect for doing stage races, because you look at Chris Froome and you look at some of the other riders who have been successful. Bradley Wiggins, of course, as well, a very tall guy, and he did get the weight down to win his tour. He trimmed off a lot. I think Tom Dumoulin was looked at as a time trialist and probably a roller classics rider. Some of the flatter classics like a Tour of Flanders and those sort of races, he could ride very well. He wasn't being looked at as a big tour contender, and suddenly he's been coming in the last 2 years, getting better and better, and just getting more consistent. And this one, he's really upped his game in this Vuelta, and now he's on the road here to win the Vuelta this year.
Brief look at some of the onboards that we've been enjoying as part of our pre and post race shows here. Got a bit of picture jam on the relay coming from the on-site providers, but back and indeed on this descent. It's off that little peaklet that we were talking about at 81 k's. So in there, that was that little uncategorized climb, and a significant 11-kilometre descent. Now, this is where the likes of Luis Leon Sanchez has some fun, and in fact it's where our main breakaway, Sean, started to fracture, and it's happening again before our very eyes. If this is an 11-kilometre descent, we've still, at the bottom of this, during the day, we will still have 24 kilometres in total of descending on this day, including 11 to the line.
Yes, well, we have a lot of climbing, and with that goes a lot of descending, and we have 2 big climbs to come, 2 first category climbs, and 10 kilometres, a little bit over, and then 11-kilometre climb, the final one of the day. And we have very interesting final, and the final descent of the day will be that 17-kilometre downhill. And will the race be decided on the downhill? It's quite possible, but in this big chasing group of 38 riders, we can see riders just giving it a push on the descent, a little bit of splits coming, but nobody wanting to commit too much at this point, with still 74.5 to go. Advantage for a sole breakaway rider, 122 is nothing. It's no concern at all for the riders here for the moment, and they're just continuing on to work away, and as it's the same back in peloton, 12 minutes 42, so they want to hold on to that advantage as much as possible. Some want to hold on to it a bit more than others, because they are thinking, if we can get into the final of this one, the stage victory could be to play for. And of course there's other teams like Astana, like Movistar, maybe they are thinking something to do with the general classification with their men back in the main peloton.
Tom Chappell says, loving seeing the early skirmishes today. A full day of Vuelta coverage on British Eurosport, the home of cycling, and international viewers as well, really enjoying life. Greg Tubikov says, glad to see you agreeing with me regarding Tom Dumoulin. He's just got a big head, which makes him look big, but actually he's not that big. Others saying, Race Radio have come in and said, for your information, Froome said his weight was between 66 and 67 kilos during the Tour. Yeah, he clearly came here heavier as well, so we'll stick with our 69, but your voice has been heard. Neil Muir says, no way Froome and Tommy are the same weight. Won't believe it until I see them on the scales. Well, we saw them we saw a side view a few moments ago of Tom Dumoulin, and he looks like he's at the end of a grand tour. I can tell you, he looks lean, and indeed with that power jaw, mean as well. So this man, Vuelta, got denied by Nico Roche on stage 18, but both he and Roche showing that you can carry a lot of form, or indeed sometimes find your form within a race, Sean.
Yes, well, that is the case for some riders. You can get better as the race go on, depending on what your season have been, how much racing you have been doing, and other riders, it can be difficult if you're coming out of the Tour of France. You can start suffering in the final week of Vuelta, and fatigue can be a big problem. Some riders support much better than others, and that is, I think, advantage the big Tour riders have got. They can recover very well, and they can just be there every day, and that is what it's about. It's a great feeling when you're at the end of a big tour and you're still feeling good. You can be in the breakaways. The racing is much easier, but when you are a one which is just suffering to get to Madrid, and the last week that has been the case, you're just following the race and trying to hang in there on the tail end of the peloton, then it is torture, as they say in biking.
You can see the red numbers, the red number 14 on the back of Alexis Gougiard, who's also suffering today after that magnificent win yesterday for AG Tour La Mondiale. We'll take a break. Welcome back. Plaza Molina went off with about 120 kilometres to go, so he's almost halfway there on his individual task, I think it's fair to say. So, Kevin Retzer is here with Kenny Elissonde. I said Kenny was expected to be in the break today, and I was a bit disappointed to see him not in it early on. Well, he managed to get himself into a secondary break, and now he's where he needs to be. And he's a good climber, is Elissonde. He's only a youngster as well for a climber, so he's got a lot of good climbing days to come. And in fact, there we are, a little stop, and it looks like Geraint Thomas is taking life easy. He's doing his own changing there. There we are. Just loosening it off for a change of front wheel. But yeah, Geraint very vocal, even at the top of this race, about the wisdom of that team time trial. That, of course, was annulled for the overall classification. Getting a change, he'll be okay. A day for the brave today. Well, you've got to be in it to win it, and Team Giant Alpecin are doing a lot of pushing at the moment, particularly on some of these transition areas within today's stage. This man has had his tongue hanging out for quite some time. I don't mean he's flagging, I mean he's gunning for it. In fact, he went with 110, 120 kilometres to go. Been out there, so he's almost halfway through his task of delivering an individual victory. Will he manage, though? That's the question. So let's find out how the day today has panned out so far. It was busy at the top of the day. We had some hopefuls. 9 went up the road. They were joined by a couple of others, intermediate riders, and the chase was on behind. Unfortunately, we got ourselves into a bit of a tussle on a roundabout. Several riders went down, and that allowed a secondary break to try and bridge over. Well, we had our leaders. They all came together, those two lead groups, and formed a fighting band of about 40 riders. But Plaza Molina it was that decided that he was going to go off and have some individual fun. We didn't believe he'd make it. This was the amalgamation of those two big groups, forming themselves into a giant pack of chasers with one hair up the road. Or further back down the line, and 12.5 minutes down and more right now. The main body of the peloton with Plaza Molina hoping to bridge all the way home. Will he make it? That's the question. But the bigger question that we're asking today is whether Dumoulin will be in red at the end of it. Here we go then. It's our chasers, and at the moment they don't seem overly minded to do anything about Ruben Plaza Molina. They have this group fractured on the descents, and we expect them to do so again when we take on our next very large descent. That is going to come after our next climb. Now they're on a little bit of a bridge to try and get to our next climb, I might add, and in fact they are just about approaching it right now. In fact, we'll be there in about 3k's time, or at least this man Plaza Molina will be, and he's already out of the saddle. So 17 kilometres of climbing. It just slowly but surely gets steeper and steeper, and in fact it's only classified for about 11k's of distance, so the real classification doesn't begin until 59 kilometres from home. As you can see, he's already climbing, our man up the road, Plaza Molina, and he's got another 8k's before he's actually officially classified as being in a climb. We'll certainly know all about that. Here is Gerard Thomas at the back. He's just had a front puncture and has changed. I must admit, Sean, I was expecting a little bit more from Gerard Thomas today. I thought it could have been an option for him, but it's Nico Roche that's up the road, along with Enau from Team Sky.
Yes, I think we've seen of recent, the last 10 days, Gerard Thomas looks to be suffering. I think fatigue is a problem for him.
There we are. See the little Be Active hashtag in the bottom. It's a European directive, not a directive, but what can we call it? Initiative, that's the word. To get people to be active. Secrets in the words. There you are. Eurosport is a partner of this, and if you have a look, apparently it tells you all different kinds of ways that you can be active. One of which, of course, is to switch off the television and go out. But we don't want you to do that today. Not